It was the end of a very busy day. All the engines were absolutely tired, except for Robert, who had something to say on the matter.
You know, if you all were diesels like me, you wouldn't be so tired after a little bit of work.
What are you talking about? We did twice the work you did.
Ha, your work is nothing compared to mine. In fact, I bet I can pull my train and yours all at once, and deliver all the goods in record time.
That statement is just as bad as a bad load of coal.
I would know how that feels. I don't need coal, because I'm modern and better than all of you by a long shot.
Why you?
Alright, you two, settle down. Robert, if you're so confident in yourself that you can pull this train, why don't you do it then?
Alright, I will. In fact, Dan, you can take the day off as well. I'll pull the express, my load, and Fowler's load to prove that diesels are far superior than little steamies.
Fowler was quite shocked Dan would let him do such a thing, and was quite nervous. So it's set. Robert, will you pull everyone's trains? Deal?
Deal.
And the engines called it a night, except for Fowler, who spoke to Dan quietly before he fell asleep.
Are you sure you want to do this? I don't think Sir Philip would like this.
It's fine. It'll teach Robert a lesson. Just you watch.
If you say so.
And all the engines fell asleep. The next morning, Robert boiled out of the sheds quickly to collect his load of cars along with Fowler's.
This'll be easy. I'll show them bucket of bolts that diesels are superior in every way.
Robert fetched the cars and lined them up into one long line.
Pah, this ain't nothing. I've pulled longer trains before I came to this puny railway.
And Robert continued along with his long line of cars. Later, Robert collected the express coach, which was pushed to the back of the train. Who are you? You're not Dan.
That's right. I'm Robert, and today I'll be pulling the express.
Along with every single car on the railway?
Oh, shush. Just come along and we'll get it over with.
As Robert pushed into the train, he began to feel how heavy all the cars were.
This is a little heavier than I thought. Oh well, shouldn't be too much trouble for a diesel.
Later, Robert pulled into the station to collect the passengers, and as they boarded, Robert began to grow a tad bit nervous.
Oh my, that's a lot of passengers. It shouldn't do no harm. I hope.
After the passengers boarded, Robert began his journey, and immediately felt the pressure of the weight of the train in front of him. Along the line, Robert began to hear a faint buzzing sound in his engine.
What is that sound? It sounds like a bee buzzing around in my engine.
But it wasn't a bee, it was actually his engine sputtering. It was being overworked due to the heavy train.
It's getting louder. What's going on?
Then, everything seemed to happen at once.
Oh, my engine.
Robert groaned in pain as he couldn't move another inch.
That's the end of the road, Robert. I'll have to go to the nearest station and call for help.
As Robert watched as his driver went away, he was left stranded in the middle of the line. Some time had passed. The passengers were getting nervous, when suddenly, Robert heard the sound of chuffing. It was Fowler and Dan coming to save the day.
Here we come, Robert.
Here to save the day, Robert groaned, as he waited for the two to pester him about his engine problem, but they didn't say anything. They chuffed back into the back of the train, and they began their journey. 1, 2, 3, push! Wheel turn by wheel turn, the strange train slowly began to move.
Oh my, this train weighs a ton. And so does Robert.
Robert was too upset to say anything about Fowler's remark, and just let the two push him into the next station. Many hours later, they had delivered all the cars and just had Robert in the express coach to push. This is a much lighter load.
I don't know, Robert is still here.
As they pulled into the final station, Dan and Fowler were exhausted.
Phew, what an exercise. I won't be able to pull another train for days.
I'd say, I think we should let Robert do all our work again. Just then, a little boy walked up to Robert.
Look at that. The two steam engines had to push that big diesel. That means that steam engines are the best.
Robert didn't say a thing, and just let Fowler and Dan push him into the sheds. Later that evening, the engines were quite quiet, until Dan broke the silence. You know, Robert, maybe before you say something like, diesels are the best, maybe you should think about how we feel about that.
Fine. I'm sorry, I guess.
Fowler and Dan accepted Robert's apology, and dozed off to sleep, waiting to see what the next day's adventure holds for them.